So Dygoknight is back with another video where he tells us why Might Guy is the fastest character in the Naruto universe. Now, obviously, you know how dumb this shit is gonna be, so let's just go ahead and react to it.
Might Guy is the fastest Naruto character. He's faster than Naruto, he's faster than Sasuke, Kaguya, than Momo than Ishiti, and this is pretty evident by what Kishimoto shows us on page. Now, you may say, but Naruto managed to dodge a light speed attack from Madara and his Light Fang. Sure, the attack is listed as being a light speed attack on the data books. I don't know how trustworthy they are because they have some pretty bold claims. Still, that attack looks like a laser beam, which is light, which would be moving at the speed of light. So, is Naruto light speed because he dodged that attack? No. You can dodge things that are much faster than you. A normal person can dodge a bullet. You just have to get out of the trajectory before the bullet is shot. That is exactly what Naruto does, dodging the Light Fang. Now,
so far, all you did was make a claim without substantiating it. There's nothing to indicate that Naruto aimed dodged Madara's attack, and there's nothing to indicate that he sensed it and then dodged before the attack was launched. So you're just making a claim and not substantiating it. So I'm gonna ask you, where the fuck is your proof for that?
obviously, this will require a lot of speed. I'm not saying Naruto is slow by any means, but Might Guy is faster than he is. So for me to explain why Guy is the fastest character, I have to clarify some misconceptions, and there are a lot of them, behind Might Guy's feet when he uses the Night Guy and hits Yubidara. In that moment, Might Guy manages to bend space-time through sheer speed, and yes, Might Guy bends space-time, not just space. I'm gonna get into that later. This is something that we had never seen before, and that we never see ever again. Guy's the only character capable of doing that in his final attack, the most potent taijutsu technique in the verse. And I've heard many counter-arguments as to why Guy is not the fastest character just because he bends space-time. One of those is that my Guy simply could not control his speed properly, and therefore he was bending space because he just didn't know how to tame his power. And the other characters are so much more powerful than him because they can actually move faster than Guy and not make space bend, and this simply makes no sense. There is no jutsu that allows characters to not bend space-time. It's something completely beyond their control if they don't have a magical mean to control it, and they never show anything like it. So if characters are moving fast enough to bend space-time, they should bend space-time. There's no controlling it, because it's a physical thing. If we assume that physics works the same way in the Naruto universe as it works in our universe, then there would be no controlling this bending of space-time, unless you use magical means, as I mentioned before. And
okay, so I'm calling bullshit on your argument because, first of all, that's personal incredulity. I don't have to take that, but I'm not here to point out fallacies. I'm here to just prove you wrong straight up. So I'm going to do just that. Now, you're trying to use real-life science to explain fiction, and I'm going to do exactly that to prove you wrong. So in real life, things that move faster, like for example, let's say we have object A and object B. Object B can travel at the speed of sound and bend space more than object A, which travels at the speed of light. This actually happens in real life. So I'm going to give examples of that. If you take a look at the Earth, it travels at 66,000 miles an hour around the sun, and yet it bends space more than a photon. Yes, a photon has mass, in case you didn't know, but the mass is so negligible that the bending of space caused by a photon is incomparable to that of the fucking Earth. Even though the Earth moves so much slower than a photon, it still bends space more than the photon because it has more mass. So yes, in real life, we have things that move at the speed of light and don't bend space that much. And then we have things that move at the speed of sound and yet bend space more than things that move at the speed of light. So I gave an example with the Earth and a photon. Now, applying this to the Naruto universe, we can actually have a character that moves faster than Guy and doesn't have to bend space. That's because that character would have less mass than Might Guy. So yes, it actually takes mass to bend space and not speed.
Characters haven't been shown bending space-time because they're so fast, then the clear conclusion is that the person who's able to do it is the fastest among them all. Some people will just dismiss this bending of space, saying that, well, it's just Kishimoto doing something cool for Might Guy, it's not really important that he bends space-time, he's definitely not faster than the more powerful characters. But if that's the case, you're just disregarding something that's blatantly shown in the manga and in the anime. It's essentially gaslighting yourself, saying that this is not important, it doesn't even exist exist, it's just something meant to look cool, and you could use the same argument to justify anything to fit your agenda. And then the most popular argument as to why Guy is not doing anything too impressive here is that bending space is a feat of mass and not a feat of speed. And yes, I understand why people make this argument. Most people don't understand general relativity. It's an abstract concept that's not apparently present in our daily lives, even though it affects everything we do. It's also not taught in high school, commonly at least, so people have less access to this type of knowledge if they don't actively search for it. So they'll just assume, no, yeah, bending space is a feat of mass. It's not a feat of speed, so therefore, Guy's not faster than the other characters. Now, without getting into the science of things, think about this for a second. Why would Kishimoto show Guy bending space-time if this was a feat of his mass?
Okay, asking us why Kishimoto would do the opposite of your conclusion is simply just begging the question, so I don't even know why you are asking that, because I can also just ask you the same question. Why would Kishimoto show Guy bending space if he doesn't want to show, if it's not to show us that he has more mass than every other character? You see how that question can just apply? I can just ask you the same question and we get nowhere.
Are the 8 gates supposed to make Guy weigh more? Is that what the gates do? No, the gates amp Guy's strength and speed, especially speed in this case.
Okay, do you know what happens when you travel faster, Dygoknight? The faster you travel, the more mass you gain. This is the reason why we cannot travel faster than the speed of light, because if you travel faster than the speed of light, you get infinite mass, which requires infinite energy. And because we don't have infinite energy, you cannot travel with infinite mass, which means you cannot travel faster than the speed of light. That's because the faster you travel, the more mass you gain. Now, you just said that the gates amp Guy's speed. He travels faster. So do you know what that means, Daigo? The faster Might Guy travels, the more mass he gains, and the more he bends space. Retard.
Obviously, Kishimoto is trying to convey through the bending of space that Might Guy is extremely fast, because this is the focus of the scene there, at least when it comes to the general fight. And I am referring to the bending of space because this is what people generally say when they talk about this scene, but as I said before, Guy is bending space and time during this scene. So now is the part of the video where we're gonna try to apply real-life science into shonen manga / anime, which is not something I like doing, but it's an interesting exercise. And for that, I'll have to explain relativity a little bit. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, space and time are inseparable, intricately connected. When you're talking about space, you're also talking about time. And according to this theory, space and time are not a constant. They can be bent. Hence the name relativity, because space and time are relative. The constant of the universe is actually the speed of light. So when Might Guy is bending space, if the rules of physics apply the same way in the Naruto universe as they apply to ours, he is also bending time. You cannot bend space without bending time. This is just how the universe works. Objects with great mass will bend space-time. The most famous depiction of that is going to be a black hole. If you were to fall into a black hole and somebody was observing you falling from the outside, for the person observing, you would essentially freeze in time before you were ever swallowed by the black hole, because space-time is being bent so violently due to the insane mass of a black hole, but the same thing applies to other massive objects.
Now, hold on just a second. What the fuck did you just say?
Black hole. And somebody was observing you falling from the outside. For the person observing, you would essentially freeze in time before you were ever swallowed by the black hole, because space-time is being bent so violently due to the insane mass of a black hole, but the same thing applies to other massive objects, not as massive as a black hole, but...
So, let me get this straight. This man just explained to us the reason why black holes bend space and time, and he said it's because of its mass. And now he's gonna argue that it doesn't take mass to bend space and time, even though he's the one who just explained that a black hole bends space and time because of its mass. Seriously, how retarded is this guy?
Space-time is what people actually refer to as gravity, but according to relativity, gravity doesn't really exist. It's a curvature in space-time created by mass, meaning that objects that are moving at a constant rate without acceleration are actually going to be pulled because of this bend in space-time towards that massive object, as though you're falling down. And when you are standing on a planet, you're actually accelerating. Even if you're not moving at all, the fact that you're standing up means that you are accelerating. So according to general relativity, in order for you to remain still on a massive object, aka a planet, you have to accelerate. It's pretty weird, but that's how it works. So then you may be saying, aha, so it is mass that creates the bending of space-time. So I was right. Well, technically, yes. But my guy's feat of bending space-time is not due to his mass, but due to his speed. Let me explain. According to general relativity, in order for you to accelerate anything with mass, energy is going to be required. And the faster any object with mass goes and accelerates, the more massive the object becomes relative to its speed. Now, when you go for a jog or a sprint and you accelerate, you are spending energy, but you don't really feel yourself getting heavier because the speed that you're accelerating at is negligible. But when you start to scale that towards the speed of light, then your mass starts to increase in an alarming rate. And obviously, the more massive you are, the more energy is going to be required for it to keep on accelerating. And this continues until you reach the speed of light. The problem is that when a theoretical physical object reaches the speed of light, it will be so fast that its mass will be infinite, and therefore it will require an infinite amount of energy to keep on accelerating, meaning that it's impossible to accelerate beyond the speed of light because you just cannot gather infinite energy. The only exception for that is the inflation time right after the Big Bang, but that particular time in the universe's history is not very well understood. But this all means that the faster Might Guy goes, the more massive he gets. So technically, yes, Might Guy is bending space-time in that scene because he's so massive, but he becomes so massive because he goes so fast, meaning that the 8th gate granted him so much speed that he was actually moving somewhere close to the speed of light, which made him so massive he could bend space-time around him.
Okay, hold it. Traveling at the speed of light, huh? Okay, bending space doesn't mean you're traveling close to the speed of light, and I just explained that a few minutes ago. I will explain it again and even give you examples. We have the sun, a star that is basically stationary, right? It's not really moving, and yet it bends space so much that we can see things behind it. Yes, it bends space so much that it creates some sort of a lens effect, which we call the gravitational lensing effect, and we can see things behind it. So a star bends space so much that it's incomparable to the amount that a photon bends space. A photon doesn't bend space as much as a star, and yet it travels so much faster than a star. So Might Guy bending space doesn't mean he's traveling close to the speed of light. He can bend space while traveling at the speed of sound. He can bend space traveling at the speed of a car. It just depends on how much mass you have.
Is bending that way. Now, Kishimoto's depiction of space-time being bent is the best way he could show that to the audience. If matter start to fall towards Guy, that would just be kind of weird. And showing the staff turning essentially into a crescent moon was a good way to say, yeah, space is being bent. Not exactly the most scientific portrayal, but it's still being bent. And yes, you may discredit my Guy bending space-time because it's not scientifically accurate to general relativity and how it would work, but this is literally the only mention in the entire series of a character that is moving at relativistic speeds. It's funny how scalars tend to use equations and formulas and whatnot that are going to benefit the agenda. You know, the Otsutsukis, they have to be the most powerful guys in the verse, so they're gonna pull Newton's third law to say, yeah man, they can withstand the blow of an entire supernova, whatever. But then when there's a clear depiction of a character moving at relativistic speeds, they just turn a blind eye and say, no, it doesn't really matter. I am going to trust the very trustworthy words of the data books, because those have never lied. And the thing is, Newtonian physics can still be applicable in several instances in real life, but it's been superseded by general relativity. Relativity has not failed any test that has been put through ever since it's being conceptualized, while Newtonian physics can only go so far, so relativity is a superior theory. So just ignoring the fact that Guy is bending space-time because we need to make sure the Otsutsukis and the Boruto characters are the strongest ones and the fastest ones in the verse is a little bit hypocritical, isn't it? Now the question is, how fast is my guy actually moving when he uses Night Guy and bends space-time? Well, we don't know for certain because calculating things by looking at a panel in the manga is one of the most stupid things you could do. Let's count how many pixels this particular crater has and calculate how many joules the explosion yields. It's not the most productive thing in the world. Do you really think Kishimoto, who had to draw and write 20 manga pages every week, was concerned with how many joules a particular explosion yielded? Oh no, this explosion was supposed to be 14 billion joules and not 12 billion joules. We'll have to redraw the entire thing. Obviously not. Now, the general feel and sizes of things that happen, such as explosions and whatnot, are important to determine the power of a particular character. For example, we can see that the Ten Tails Bijudama is much stronger than any other Bijudama just because the explosion is so much bigger, but to calculate how much more powerful using real life formulas is just kind of stupid. Because I guarantee you that Kishimoto was not going that deep into the sizes of explosions and everything he did. He usually put what looked good much before calculating power levels, which even leads to some inconsistencies. Just take a look at the Nine Tails in the fight between Madara and Hashirama. In this panel in the beginning of the fight, the Nine Tails look so much bigger than in this other panel towards the end, just comparing to Madara on the top of her head. So if Kishimoto is not paying that much attention to the sizes of actual characters in the series and should have a standard size, then he's definitely not paying attention to the size of an explosion or crater all that much. And he chose to draw Madara and the Nine Tails in different sizes just because he thought the differences would look better in those particular panels. Of course, the power scalers will say, no, actually, Madara used the expansion jutsu of the Akimichi clan in the middle of the scene and just didn't see it because he was off page, but actually he is much bigger now in the Nine Tails' head, or they're gonna say that the Nine Tails shrunk. It's always something like this. But it's just Kishimoto being a little inconsistent, and that's not that big of a deal. So trying to calculate Guy's exact speed is essentially useless. Not even Kishimoto would give you an exact number. He would just say, no, yeah, he's moving really fast, he's bending space-time in relativistic speeds. He could be moving at 30% of light speed, he could be moving at 60, 80, 90, 99.9999% light speed. We don't know. The only thing we know, if physics still apply in the Naruto universe, is that nobody can move at light speed proper. The important thing that scene is conveying is that my guy is in fact the fastest character ever in the Naruto universe. Now, he may not be as fast as other characters during the other stages of the 8th gate, when he was using the Evening Elephant, for example, who's not bending space-time there, but when he uses the Night Guy, it's undeniable that he is faster than anybody else, because no one bends space-time because of their speed. Now, you may be saying, well, people like Tobirama and Minato are definitely faster than Guy is because they can teleport instantaneously. And yes, that's true. Instant teleportation requires no time. However, if you're also taking real physics into account, the fact that they travel literally instant in between flying Raijin marks, requiring no time whatsoever for them to go from one place to the other, means that they're technically traveling faster than the speed of light. Now, they're not actually moving towards the other marks, so they're not going to get that increase in mass that's going to generate the bend in space-time, but this creates another problem. Instant travel creates, by default, time travelers. So every time Minato and Tobirama use the Flying Thunder God, if they're actually instant, they're traveling through time as well. They're not bending time, no, they're traveling in time, which is a different thing entirely. So in my headcanon, the Flying Thunder God jutsu has a little bit of a delay for Minato and Tobirama to get where they are, but they move so close to the speed of light in their teleportation that it's barely noticeable. It's just so that they don't break physics as we know it. In the end of the day, applying real-world physics to fantasy is a futile exercise. Kishimoto doesn't really care all that much if he breaks the laws of physics or if he's not scientifically accurate in his approach to show the bending of space-time, and that doesn't really matter either if you're reading it. It's not the point of the story. The point is to portray characters doing things that require extreme amounts of power, and when a character does something that nobody else ever does again or ever did before, this means this character is special, and that's why my guy is the fastest character ever in the Naruto universe. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the video, like it as well please, it really helps against the YouTube algorithm, and watch this other cool Naruto video right here. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
This is Future Dawn, editing Dawn. Yeah, I know this is gonna sound like stupid, but like I legit fell asleep while watching the rest of the video. I'm sorry. It's fuck. I just wasn't paying attention after my last comment, so I'm sorry about that. I'm just not gonna go back and watch it. Fuck it, bro. I'm just tired. So anyway, that was just bullshit. I believe I explained why my guy bending space and time doesn't mean he's the fastest character. Fuck, I need to sleep. So yeah, if you didn't understand, then go back and watch it. But I'm not gonna explain again. But just know that it doesn't really take speed to bend space. It just takes mass. Anyway, fuck it. Fuck Dygoknight. He's retarded. See you next time. Dawn out. Bye.